Well, hello to our listeners of Asasa Radio and welcome to Sunday night. And we're here in our studios in Cantonments for a change, having been out on the road a little, to talk to a lady who, I'm in awe of the phenomenal list of qualifications she comes garlanded with for a start. But we're joined by none other than Afua Asabea Asare, who is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Welcome to the studio, Asabea.
Thank you, Nania.
AAA, so we haven't had any AAAs in the studio in the past, but thank you very much for joining us fresh off the plane from Nigeria. You're a woman who's constantly in motion. I wonder how you manage to keep up with time zones and where you are from one moment to the next. But travel comes with the job, presumably, for you. Do you cope well with it, or is it just a necessary adjunct of the job that you put up with?
It's part of the work that I do, and I'm used to it. Yeah, it brings results, so I'm used to it. I like it too.
You have to go where the export markets are.
Exactly. I have to forge relationships, and like the trip to Abuja, I had to go and see my counterpart in Nigeria, Nigeria Export Promotion Authority, to talk to them about the upcoming WTPO, which is the World Trade Promotion Organization's conference, which we won the bid to host in Ghana. And I have to bring our brothers in West Africa on board. For me, it wasn't just a Ghana win, but a West African win. So I am visiting my colleagues in West Africa to bring them on board to support in hosting this big program in Ghana.
And perhaps we can talk a little bit later on about the WTPO conference coming up. But just by way of an introduction to let people know who you are, because as we were saying, we were joking earlier on off air about how remarkably controlled your biography seems to be. There's standard facts about you which are known everywhere. Afua Asabea Asare is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, as it's known for short. Now, GEPA is the National Trade Promotion Organization for so-called non-traditional exports, which opens up markets for made-in-Ghana goods and actively sells Ghanaian enterprise and products from fresh fruit to pharmaceuticals to arts and crafts. Now, this is not just dabbling with pet projects or spouting diversification theory. In 2019, Ghana earned nearly $2.9 billion US dollars from non-traditional exports alone. And non-traditional exports indeed accounted for 18% of our national export revenues, and it's a growing sector.
Yeah.
Now, Afua Asabea Asare was appointed as GEPA's chief executive in 2018, having previously served as special advisor to the Minister of Business Development. She describes herself as a lifelong enthusiast of positive leadership and strategy, and has worked in organizational development, business, and integrated communications for 25 years. She comes highly, highly garlanded. She has an LLB degree from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, an MA in Positive Leadership and Strategy from IE University in Madrid, that's Instituto de Empresa, University in Madrid, a postgraduate diploma in Organizational Development from the University of Cape Coast, and an MBA with a specialization in international business from the École Supérieure de Gestion in Paris. She holds various further diplomas and degrees, possibly too numerous for us to recount here, but in strategic marketing management, communication studies, public relations, and advertising from institutions from the University of Ghana to Harvard Business School to the Ghana Institute of Journalism, and also holds a PhD in business management.
It's a DBA.
A DBA, a Doctorate in Business Administration. Yes. So she holds a Doctorate in Business Administration and an MSc in Research, which you earned through the Swiss Business School. Afua Asabea Asare has also taught variously at GIMPA, Presbyterian University College, and been a visiting lecturer for the China-Europe International Business School's Women in Entrepreneurship and Leadership in Africa program. She serves on various boards, again too numerous to mention, but I suppose principally one might mention her service to Ghana Exim Bank. And she's also a member of the advisory board on Africa for IU University in Madrid, her alma mater. If I would like to ask you that. How have you managed to cram in such a plethora of qualifications, postgraduate qualifications, further study, and indeed teaching?
Now that you're asking me, I don't even know how I did it, but I guess everybody uses their time differently, and I try to use mine in going to school. Anytime I get bored and there's something I want to know about, I just go and study, and I just go to school. And so probably, I don't know how I did it.
Yes, you must be some kind of wizard in time management to have fitted all this in, because it's very hard to see how anybody otherwise would have crammed it in. But clearly you are somebody who has wanted to put what they have studied very much into practice. Were you not tempted to stay in academia, having gained such an impressive list of qualifications?
I don't want to stay solely in academia. I want to stride between academia and industry. I see myself as somebody who easily gets bored with doing one thing in a long while. So I actually find it interesting striding academia with industry, because you learn a lot from industry and then you apply it to academia. Otherwise, it will be theory. I like the practical side of everything that I've learned as well. So that's why I managed to combine the two.
And in the past, you've managed your own company. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what you traded in?
In the past, I have done so many things. I have been in consulting on organizational development. I have painted and done art and mosaic art. I used to sew, so I had a sewing center, which was doing quite well until some unfortunate incident, and I closed that place down. So in the past, these are the things that I was doing, and I still do some of them. Like I'm still painting, I'm still doing the artwork, I'm still doing mosaic art, and I'm not lecturing, because my job at Ghana Expo Promotion Authority is taking a lot from me already, so I cannot do any other thing. But in my leisure time, I do my artwork, and sometimes I sew. Yeah.
So you know whereof you speak when you talk to Ghanaian producers who may have started out with something at cottage industry level.
Exactly.
Whether that's in the artisanal field, whether it's to do with fresh produce, and how you struggle to find markets.
Exactly.
And now looking to export markets in particular. Now, you've just returned, apart from your trip most recently to Nigeria, and you, as I said, we'll return a little bit to that. You recently went on a field trip to Rwanda, also to talk to counterparts over there. Was that again about building up export markets, or was it to learn from the Rwandan example? Because everybody holds up Rwanda as a model of successive diversification.
It's both. We were lucky to put this trip together with the help of the ambassador of Rwanda to Ghana, Dr. Isa, who organized not just Ghana Export Promotion Authority, but the Ghana Tourism Authority and the associations under the Ghana Tourism Authority to go to Rwanda to see what is happening in Rwanda, get to understand how they are pushing tourism. And we took the opportunity to talk to our counterparts on what we have here are priority products that we can export to Rwanda and what they can also export to Ghana. To get to know them, we hadn't really been to Rwanda with exports before. So this was our first time, and we took some of our samples there as well, which they were very, very interested in. So the conversation has started. We found a few people who wanted to import some of our goods and services as well. So it's been good. And we also realized that some other Ghanaians had already started even exporting there. And so it's all good. And the tourism sector, it's doing very well. We were impressed with how clean Rwanda is, how clean, how disciplined, how orderly everything seems or looks. I'm sure that it's like that. It wasn't just to show us that this is how it is, because eventually we went off on our own to look for their makola or their countermantle, and it was still orderly and clean. So there was a lot that we learned from them, and a lot that we think that we can apply to our situation here in Ghana.
Now, of course, Rwanda, like other countries in Central and Eastern Africa, is very well known for ecotourism, specifically things like visiting national conservation parks, the gorillas in the wild. Indeed, I believe I saw some pictures of you going and seeing the gorillas in their natural habitat. How close up did you get?
About 50 meters.
Wow.
I was scared. They're huge.
They are huge, aren't they? Yes, absolutely. And of course, ecotourism isn't a particularly well-developed sector in this country, despite our notable sites such as Mule National Park, the Kakum National Natural Reserve, the Boabeng Fiema Monkey Sanctuary. But precisely, you can probably name most of the well-known ones, kind of counting the fingers of one hand. What did you find in Rwanda that you think we can learn from as another non-traditional export that we can develop?
A non-traditional export that we can develop.
I mean, specifically, what could we learn in the sector of ecotourism?
There's ecotourism. I think first we should get rid of the filth in our environment. And we have the parks. We have them because when I came back, I made a trip to the Volta region. I made a trip to the Western region. A good friend of mine sent me to these places, and I was so grateful that he did, because all along I thought we didn't have anything like what Rwanda had, but we have. We have just not developed them. We have not exposed them enough. We have not intentionally gone about it in a way that we could also sell it to the international world. Because if you go to the Western region where I went to, I was amazed to see that we had that. Because we are looking at inviting the Rwandans here, and we need to also take them to places. And I'm looking for places that I can take them to. They made me climb this volcanic mountain, and I was so tired. I walked 6 hours, and I need a place to punish them as well. So I'm looking for places, and I'm going around Ghana, and I'm seeing the beautiful sites of Ghana that we haven't developed or even talked about. And there are people, private businessmen and women who are willing to help, develop these sites and expose them to the world. And it is up to us in government to work with them to realize this vision.
Now, your 2019 report on non-traditional exports and, performance of the sector ended on a very high note. Obviously, 2019 was a year of huge growth. Talking about tourism, for example, we had the year of return, and that was, fantastic celebration of Ghana's tourism potential. Everything seemed poised for takeoff, and then, of course, COVID happened. What specific impact did COVID have over the past year on your work?
Definitely, it had a huge impact because Normally, we go out there to look for the market. We couldn't go out to look for the market. We couldn't go to trade promotion shows with our clients who are the exporters and small businesses. And all of this made the work, our business slow. People couldn't go and sell their wares on the international market. Normally, there will be big shows in and around Ghana and outside of Ghana, but we couldn't do any of that. And because of that, we couldn't export as much as we would wish to export. We couldn't expose the new products that we have. And most of the SMEs, the owners were really sad and down. But we took the opportunity to actually build the capacity of our own staff, which we are still doing, to build the capacity of our own staff and also the capacity of the exporters, and rebrand those that we needed to rebrand. Look at the individual products and see how we can help them position themselves when this is all over, and also to look into the African continent rather than looking out as we have previously been doing, because now we are talking about the Continental Free Trade Area.
Can I ask, firstly, did technology not allow you to bypass some of those effects of not being able to meet potential buyers face to face as you would have done in the past?
GEPA is an organization that uses a lot of technology, and that is how come we even won the bid to host WTPO here, because we had won an award for being the World Trade Promotion Organization that uses the ICT to promote what we do. So for the best use of ICT, that's the award that we won. So this was difficult for us, but not so difficult as we were already in that sphere. We have used a lot of our know-how to do virtual shows. So we had a virtual expo with Rwanda recently. We didn't have to take everybody there. We did it virtually, and it was very successful. And we are planning others like that. In fact, we have had very, very good meetings and expos of some of our products virtually. And we think that it worked well, and we have to expand that even when things are okay. This is another way that we can expose our products and services to the rest of the world.
So the WTPO, the World Trade Promotion Organization conference that you're speaking of, is scheduled to happen this November in Accra.
Yes.
And is it going to be mainly virtual then?
It's going to be a hybrid. We are still in discussion, but I think it's going to be a hybrid. We will have those who can come into the country for the conference come, and those who can't. So they will have to tune in online. So it will be a hybrid of the two.
Okay. And what specific impact did COVID-19 have on your actual revenues? Having earned nearly $3 billion in 2019, do you have a rough idea of the impact on 2020?
I know that it's not going to be as we envisioned it to be, but I don't have the figures right now as we are still working on the figures for 2020.
In promoting the idea of the WTPO coming up, you spoke when we were talking off air earlier on, and you mentioned at the top end of the show about wanting to bring West African neighbours on board. You're very much taking the regional and collaborative approach. Does that extend to, for example, saying to collaborators from other West African countries, perhaps you have a specialization in a particular area, a particular field, and so take that as the thing you're going to highlight at the WTPO coming up? Or is it a broader thing than that? Are you going to do a bit of mixing and matching? I mean, are you, for example, going to say, I know that you were very much involved in 2019 in the organization of the first African Cocoa and Chocolate Expo here in Accra, which is a very successful event, which you were the keynote speaker at. And there should be one being held this year, possibly virtually. But Nigeria has just had the very successful Eco Chocolate Show. So does that mean that both countries are going to be exhibiting cocoa products, for example, at the WTPO?
So the WTPO is not an expo.
Okay.
It's just a conference. So there's nothing like exhibitions or anything like that happening there. It's a conference of trade promotion organizations. We may want to showcase a few things.
I was just going to say, you're not going to take advantage
We
of
will,
that.
definitely.
Exactly.
We may want to show the world what Ghana has over
Right.
there. So, yeah. But going around and talking to my counterparts in the region is just for support. I want them to feel a part of our win. I don't want it to be a Ghana win because we are trying to trade amongst ourselves. So this is also another way of creating that relationship, of courting them, of understanding what they have in their markets, and also talking to them about what we have, what we can collaborate on, and the diversity of the various nations and how we can take advantage of each other. But I want us to start from West Africa, and then we move on to the other African regions. There are things that we can even do as part of the AFCTFA as a regional body, as West Africans. What can we do together to make us stronger, to take to the south or the east or central or the north? There are certain things that when you go to Nigeria, there are a whole lot of things that they have there that we have here, very similar. So how can we leverage on our strengths as West Africans to push the West African agenda as well? Because the other people are doing it in their regions. We talk about AFCTFA, but they are still talking amongst themselves in the blocks.
So SADC has its own thing going on in
Exactly.
Southern Africa. The Eastern
Exactly.
African Development Corporation has its
We
own.
are trying to integrate, but it's going to be a gradual thing. But we should all work together somehow to get there.
Now, I do want, obviously, to ask you a bit about your ideas for prospects for the African Continental Free Trade Area. We talk about being in a privileged position because Accra is obviously hosting the Secretariat.
Yeah.
But even as a first step to that, ECOWAS, which has been in existence, for the better part of 4 decades, still has problems within its own member nations to do with movement of both goods and services. There have recently been complaints in the business press, for example, by manufacturers of plastic products, talking about exporting goods to Benin, and how the country seems not to be implementing what is supposed to be a cross-ECOWAS agreement about non-tariff acceptance of goods onto the market. For the past 6 months, they say they have been experiencing difficulties with getting their products onto that market. Situations where, despite the agenda to which everybody has signed up, you are meeting practical difficulties on the ground. Is GEPA able to play an interventionist role, or does that perhaps have to move up to another realm, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, or even Foreign Affairs, to actually engage with partners in other African countries?
That's exactly what the Ministry and the Foreign Affairs Ministry have been, the Ministry of Trade and Foreign Affairs Ministry have been doing. And they obviously include us on those trips to have a conversation with our counterparts on the difficulties that we are facing. So it's been handled at the top level. But on our own, one of the issues that I talked about when I went to Abuja to meet my counterpart is about their standards. They are always putting impediments in our way, making it seem like our standards are low and all of that. We have difficulty sending our products onto their market. So we had a very good conversation with the CEO of Nigeria Export Promotion Council.
That's Segun
About this.
Awolowo.
Yes,
Awolowo.
yes, Segun Awolowo, who was very, very gracious and said he was going to personally intervene in these issues. So on our level, we are also talking to our counterparts and we are trying to resolve issues like that because we are also solving theirs here for them. So I thought it should be reciprocal. He should look at what we are also facing there, and he has agreed to do just that.
What are the specific products that we face difficulties with in Nigeria?
It will be everything, because basically what they have, we have. So it makes it very difficult. You'll be surprised that even their gari, they want Ghana gari. They don't like their gari. Yeah, they prefer our gari to their gari for some reason. Maybe it's about quality. So definitely they'll put impediments in your way if you are bringing something like that to their country. So it's about everything.
Now, faced with such practical difficulties, even on the level of trading with such a long-standing partner as Nigeria, I mean, the historical links between Ghana and Nigeria, one could spend hours poring over. There has been movement of people, whole families, goods and services. We know about the Ghanaian exodus to Nigeria in the 1980s and corresponding movements back, round and round in circles. If you face such difficulties on a practical level with such a well-established trading partner, what are the chances of us being able to do this with a very non-traditional export market, such as Rwanda, or maybe even one of the holy grails like South Africa or Egypt?
But that's why we have to consolidate what we have in West Africa. When we make sure that we are working together as a team, then we can go on to the other blocks. Because if I can't sell in Nigeria, why am I thinking of going to Egypt? So I thought that those of us in the region should iron out all the kinks in whatever we have already by way of ECOWAS and all of that protocols that we have signed to. Then we can look at the other regions and work very well with them, because I'm sure they are also doing the same thing. Then we can integrate better. Because right now, if I have to go to Nigeria with the products and I go through Togo, I'm facing problems. I go through Benin, I'm facing problems. By the time I'll get to Nigeria, I'm frustrated. I don't even want to be part of any export, anything again. I think we should clear those hurdles, and then we can think about integrating with the other regions.
Now, in relation to that, you've been developing a national export development strategy over the past couple of years. Is that going to play an important part, as you see it, in furthering that goal of, if you like, sub-regional integration as a springboard to continental integration? What are the main motifs or the main themes of the new export development strategy?
So the new export development strategy basically is the roadmap to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And this came about as a fallout from the policy that was created by the government, the policy of industrialization, that the president had a 10-point agenda for industrialization. And how do you industrialize? You have to grow your SMEs, you have to grow your raw materials, but also...
just to interrupt, when you say SMEs, you mean small and medium
Small and medium enterprises. And you don't want to export your materials outside in their raw form. If you added value, you were going to make more money. And so the National Export Development Strategy is to help exporters and small and medium enterprises, industries, to add value to their products and services before sending them out onto the international market, because we know that when you added value, you were going to make more money, you were going to create more jobs as well. Because the more industries we have, the more jobs we created for the masses.
So you're looking at it very much from the point of view of overall business development as part of an overall business development strategy for Ghana. But how specifically are you envisaging being able to get past, for example, some of the non-tariff barriers that are posed? You talked about quality and standards, and indeed, as I understood it, GEPA has made great strides in the past few years with introducing quality and standards, a quality and standards regime, particularly with the help of the Swiss government. A bit of an irony, given that we're now in the position of saying, in relation to our cocoa, for example, with Switzerland, that we don't want to export raw goods to them any longer. We'll be looking for quality and standards on our semi-finished or finished products. But how do you get past the differences in understanding about things such as quality and standards? Are there international organizations to which you can have reference?
So we put this whole national export development strategy document together with about 95 organizations, both from the private sector and the public sector, including the Ghana Standards Authority, Food and Drugs Authority, Customs, that's GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, the Hofage, Ghana Association of Exporters, you name them, about 95 organizations cutting across private and public sector. And all of these issues that you've raised were discussed. And so everybody has a part to play. It is not a GEPA document as it is right now. We are just facilitators of that document. Everybody has a part to play in that document. All the 95 organizations that were represented did a lot of research to come up with that document, and GEPA is facilitating it. So in playing their part, GRA with the Customs and Excise will look at the tariffs. Ministry of Finance was involved, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Foreign Affairs. Everybody has a part to play to make this document work.
But international organizations, I mean, I'm thinking, for example, of, Ghana's disagreement with Cote d'Ivoire over, territorial areas, coastal territorial authority. And there was a very well-defined course of if you like, a consultation to the international law of the sea and the tribunals. So are there either continental or international organizations that can assist with smoothing out some of these kinks?
Yes, we work very closely with the International Trade Center in Geneva, and they are aware of everything that we're doing and some of the issues that we face. And they support us. Also UNIDO and SECO.
UNIDO being the United Nations International Industrial Development Organization, and SECO being the Swiss International Cooperation Organization. Okay.
So we work with all of them.
Okay. In relation to that, again, returning to your 2019 report, there were specific areas that seemed to be sectors of growth, some of which are counterintuitive, I'd never have thought of. Ceramics was a huge area of expansion. What accounted for that uptick in 2019 in sales of made in Ghana ceramics to other countries?
It was a deliberate effort to showcase what we had. And so when I started working at GEPA, I realized that the art and craft industry was going down. So with my team, we decided, why don't we make a deliberate effort to push this? Because we realized that when we traveled out, people were interested in our ceramics. So for that brief period, we made a very serious intervention in that area, and it worked. And because of that, we are trying to push it out there even more. In October, is it in August? We are even taking it to New York now. There's a show in New York called New York Now, and they are requesting for our ceramics. So we are looking for even more market for our ceramics, and because our ceramics are doing well.
When you say ceramics, do you mean bricks and tiles, or do you mean, I know you've got the Abompe bead making facility, which seems to be another particular venture that you've been very involved in instigating. Which end of the market is it?
We're talking about poetry for now, and then the Abompe beads as well. But when you talk about beads, it's not just the Abompe beads. There are various kinds of beads that Ghana is able to export. But what we have developed recently is the Abompe beads. It's been done for ages, but they were still using the primitive tools to do them, and they were not achieving much, and they could just work on a few in a day. So we decided that why don't we study how they do it and see how we can modernize their practices and see if we can achieve more by them creating more designs and even more beads. In a day, somebody could just work on 3 strings of beads. That wasn't enough. And so we got engineers together. These are Ghanaian engineers. They went there, they studied the way the whole industry is, and came up with modern machines that helped to make the work easy, and also to produce different designs and produce more. And now one person can do about 30 in a day. So that's very good. And that means that we can export more. Yeah.
Now, you raise a key question there, which, as always, is the problem of capacity, that we have people who may be doing wonderful things, particularly in the level, in the area of arts and crafts, on an artisanal level to serve a very local market. But the question is whether, if large export markets do open themselves up, whether Ghana is actually positioned to take advantage of those markets. So, for example, an area that is mentioned very frequently in relation to diversification is Ethiopia, and what it's done with leatherware, footwear, bags, and so on, and created a whole industry around this. But this has been a whole sector that has almost been created with a mixture of private and government intervention. Is Ghana really poised to take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area?
Sometimes when we go for our expos and we get orders, that is when you realize that we are not fully prepared, because you get an order and you come back, and the various entrepreneurs are unable to honor the orders that they received. And so there was a time when I almost said, we are not going out for expos again, because we need to build a capacity. If we go out there and showcase a few beautiful things and we come back and we cannot meet the orders, what is the essence of going out there and showing what we have? So because of that, the team decided that we need to do interventions in building the capacity of our exporters to be able to export when they get the orders. And for the past few years, that is what we have been focusing on. And so you will hear some of the interventions that we have done in some of the sectors. In agriculture, we've been giving out disease-free seedlings like pineapple. To feed the Ekonfi factory, we had to support the farmers with disease-free pineapple suckers. We have to support them with fertilizers, you name it, everything to make sure that they're able to produce enough to feed that factory. We have supported with coconut seedlings, we have supported with cashew. This is all in a bid to build the capacity of the raw material base to be able to export and also to feed the industries that add value to these products.
Now, indeed, one of those areas of, if you like, a strategic intervention that you have also been involved with is in relation to the new Tree Crop Development Authority. So under Planting for Export and Rural Development, if you like, an extension of the Planting for Food and Jobs program of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, there are 6 new cash crops that Ghana envisages one can develop to a stage where they will earn us as much as cocoa earns us every year, even without developing the value chain, a minimum $2 billion a year from each of these, involving, cashew, citrus, mango, and so on. I know you have recently been very much involved in coconut and backed the conference, or the specialist conference around that also happened in 2019. Again, have you had to make specialist interventions for mangoes? I thought mangoes was already quite well established as a private export trade. For coconut, are you having to do the same, or what is the nature of the intervention that PERD is having to make, that GEPA, is having to make there?
With mangoes, we started some work with mangoes because they are having issues with the fruit flies that is destroying the mangoes. So
there's a black spot problem that is cropping up.
Yeah. So we've been talking to the Ministry of Food and Agric, and I understand that there was a test on this fruit fly disease, and some kind of interventions were made in the past. We are also talking to an Israeli company that is able to get rid of these fruit flies without chemicals. So it's organic. And we think that that's the way to go. So we've had a few meetings with them. In 2019, we were in Israel to see how it is being applied. This contraption that they put on the tree to ward off the fruit flies that causes the black spots on the mangoes. We've gone to see. We are talking to them. It involves quite a substantial amount of money. So now it is up to us to look for that money to immediately get these contraptions to help our farmers while we develop our own here. Because we are also talking to Standards Authority and the Food and Drugs Authority to see how we can develop something similar so we don't have to go buying all these expensive. But for now, we need to stop it. And so we need to do an intervention, and we are talking about doing that intervention.
Indeed, there have been some rather panicked messages from some major exporters involved in the mango trade about how if nothing is done pretty soon, it's going to wipe out.
It is serious, yes. That's why we think that immediately we should get what we can from the market to stop it while we try to develop our own.
But what has the approach been to developing coconut? We know of people who, as I said, have been established for a long while with mango plantations, also like large farms, fruit farms. But with coconut, are we seeing the emergence of people cultivating on a large scale, or is the approach to bring together lots of small producers, cocoa marketing style, to get the volumes that we'll need to push for export?
I think with the Tree Crop Authority now established, they will be looking at putting them together and doing something of that sort. But we have helped the cooperatives. They have their own cooperatives, and we have been supplying to them and intervening when they need our help. But with the tree crop, I think they will have to sort that out. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned about needing the emergency intervention with mangoes and needing to find the money from somewhere in order to save the situation in relation to that. The question arises, where does GEPA'S work end?
Exactly.
Particularly when you are up against, say, for example, we know one of the extraordinary facts I found out looking at some of your literature is that Ghana is the world's leading exporter of yams. But yams are also grown in some unusual parts of the world you wouldn't have assumed were associated with the trade. I believe they're even grown in the United States. But perhaps not as a major exporter, but, there are other countries that we're up against, Jamaica, for example, that might be in the same area. Where do your interventions end, or do you accept that part of your work of supporting export promotion is to be there, whatever stage the industry is at, to play a troubleshooting role?
That is where we find ourselves now. And it is okay, because if the product gets to the market and it is returned, my work hasn't been achieved, my work hasn't been done. So I have to make sure that every step of the value chain involved in it to make sure that when it gets to the market, it is being accepted by the market and it is not coming back. Because if you take packaging, if I'm not involved in the packaging, if I don't know how and with what kind of materials you are packaging your products, and I send it out there and it goes against certain certifications or standards in a certain country and it is brought back, in the end, my export achievements won't go anywhere. I wouldn't have achieved what I set out to do. So we are involved in every step of the way, the value chain, what is happening, so that we could advise you to do. We give advisory services as well. So we will advise you to either go to Standards Authority or go to the Food and Drugs Authority or talk to this person or talk to customs or, So we are involved in every step of the way till the product is accepted onto the market. What normally we wouldn't do is all these big interventions that we are doing by giving coconuts seedlings and pineapple suckers and all of that, I think should have been at the doorstep of the Ministry of Agric. But fortunately, we are working with them. So we have ventured into that area because we needed the products to feed the industry so that we can get what we want to export. And so we've managed to wade into that space, and we are working very well with the local government ministry and the Ministry of Agric as well.
There have been no frayed nerves or frayed tempers. You're not seen as stepping onto somebody else's turf.
No, we've worked very well with them, and I'm so grateful for the Minister for Agric. Yeah. And the Minister for Local Government as well. And my ministry, the Ministry of Trade and Industries, giving us the support all the way.
Now, through what have been rather hard times across the world for trade, for commerce generally, you spoke about the huge uptick because of a specific strategic intervention that you made in ceramics. Post-COVID, with us trying to pull our economy back on track, what are the specific areas or the main areas of non-traditional exports that you see us being able to make a very quick impact with?
We have, per our National Export Development Strategic Document, we have 17 priority areas. So we talk about oil, we talk about pharmaceuticals, about automobile, apparel, oils, the fruits and vegetables. I can go on and on, 17 of them. And so these are some of the areas. And I think services as well. We are recently developing services. So when you talk about education, you talk about health, tourism, it's all part of the services that we are taking out there to sell. We had a show in 2019 where we took the universities in Ghana to Nigeria, to Lagos and Abuja to sell the schools. And we had a very good reception, and we made some inroads into Nigeria, so they are coming to school here. We are doing the same with health and with tourism. So we are teaming up with Ghana Tourism Authority to sell what we have. And so these are some of the areas that we are working on.
But none of them that you would particularly like to pinpoint as one that you know is going to have very fast takeoff?
Apparel, the apparel industry.
Clothes?
Yes. Textiles. We haven't even scratched the surface of what we can do in that industry. So I think that there should be a deliberate effort. We should be intentional about grooming and growing people in these industries to mop up all the seamstresses and the tailors who have little shops around. We can put all of these people together and train them effectively to work with the bigger industries to push the clothing and apparel industry to where it's supposed to be. There's a lot that we can do in that industry.
Ready-mades or more textiles?
Ready-mades, textiles, you name it. Anything in that industry sells.
And that's something that, of course, you have first-hand experience of with your own business past. So you'll be very well positioned to advise on it. I wanted to ask you, retreating a bit from the intense business of talking about your work and what it is you do. You specifically in seeking out educational opportunities seem very much to have geared your the places you chose to study towards Europe. I mean, you have this connection with IE University in Madrid. You also studied at the École Supérieure de Gestion. Was that a deliberate choice to go to Europe? Most people, young people like yourself, are thinking of, the United States and very much moving in that direction. Of course, you have qualification from Harvard Business School. But was that just because you happened to find yourself in Europe, or was it a deliberate decision to aim towards Europe?
I think it wasn't a deliberate decision. I think I just like to travel. I like to see other parts of the world, and whatever came, I took. So if I wanted to do a program and I checked around and I fancied a school that I wanted to go to, I just go there. I don't care where it is. I just like to see places, meet new people. I just like to see the world. You
weren't put off by the language difficulty going to university in Spain or the École de Gestion?
No. Besides, it was being taught in English, and I had done, when I was much, much, much younger, I did French in school, and I also trained as a bilingual secretary. So I still could speak passable French. So I didn't really bother about those things. I just go into things without sometimes thinking. Just because I want to do it, I'll just go.
You're a person who acts on the spur of the moment.
Sometimes, now that I'm aging, I know that it's not always the best thing to do. But I have lived half of my life like that.
You don't strike me at all as somebody who does things on impulse. That's not the impression that you give us, Asabea.
But I have done some things on impulse, yeah.
Right. Does that also inform this other side of you, which you mentioned about your love of painting? And I don't know about where you live now and whether you have the space to have a studio there, but I know at least in the past you've talked about having a studio at home and the pleasure that you get from painting, and you say you also make mosaics. Yeah. But you never trained as an artist?
From 1 to 5, that's it. And then the rest I picked up by myself. And if I see something that I really like, I look for who is doing it, and I go and learn from the person. So with mosaic, I started doing mosaic on my own, and I saw a few good works from an artist in New York. So I went to New York to study him. And I was doing that every year. I'll go to New York to study the new techniques that he's doing. That's when I take my vacation. And then I met another guy on online in Italy, one of the Italian masters of mosaic art somewhere in Piacenza, some hours from Milan. So I visited him as well, and it became a ritual that every year I'll go there and visit with the masters and take part in the work that they're doing and learn from them. So that's how I do it. I see something that I like and I want to learn how to do it, and I just go to the source and I learn.
Do you see this as, it's obviously a very rich hinterland of yours, do you see this as being something that post-GEPA, I'm sure you're not seeing post-GEPA at the moment, but in a future life, perhaps in retirement, that you might want to take up more actively?
Yes. Every day I do something.
Every day?
Every day. Every day. When I close from work, I do a little bit, because mosaic takes a lot of time. And so every time when I close from work and I come home in the evening, I just sit down, put a few marbles here and there. I have a project working on all the time. So I work. Eventually it gets done. Not as quickly as I would have wished, but eventually it gets done.
Would you have any encouragement, partly in connection with your brief to develop tourism or ecotourism and other forms of tourism in this country as non-traditional exports? Do you see, or what role do you see artists playing in this, public art playing in this?
A very, very important role. And unfortunately, I feel that sector has been neglected or not looked at as we should have. And that's why in 2020, GEPA decided to host a show. So we had a big art show, art exhibition at the Grand Arena. Lasted for a couple of days, just 3 days, and it was a good show. And the artists were very happy. And we think that we should continue with it. So in August, we are going to hold another one and even bring in more people. We just did that for the fine artists, but we are going to rope in sculpture as part of it, not just fine art painting. Yes, sculpture will be a part of it. So it's going to last for a week, and very soon we will come out with the dates. But we will be also showcasing them, each of the artists, and I would use this opportunity to say Asase Radio is going to help us to do just that.
It has been decided.
Yes.
Well, we would of course love to play a role in this, and
Yes.
you'll meet many people here who are very sympathetic and also have a great interest and love
I
of the
know.
arts. But again, the question arises why this is something that hasn't happened organically already in Ghana.
I don't
when
know.
you compare us to Nigeria in particular,
Exactly.
which you've...
I don't know. And that's why we decided that it has to happen. And we have to sustain it, and we have to make it even bigger. So we are in talks with all the artists.
talking about.
We have made them a part of this whole revolution of pushing the fine arts out there. So they are all involved and they are all happy. And I think that eventually we will get there.
What is the crucial thing that is going to make it get there? The growth of private art galleries?
Yes, it's important. All of them play a role, but also when we showcase these as expos and invite the international community into our country, and then we have international media as part of it. It goes out there, and then we start building that brand. But when we hold exhibitions within the country that nobody hears of, we don't get anywhere with what we are doing. So this time we want to bring in international buyers, ad buyers. We want to bring in the media. We want it to be out there that Ghana has arrived with its fine arts. Yeah.
And indeed, recently we've had Odile Tevi of the Nubuke Foundation
Yes.
talking about the work that she's been doing there, also building arts and crafts promotion in the northern part of the country, in the Upper West region, and what can be done on that score. Now, Asabea, people would say that you're a rather unusual character. You're part of a crop of, if you like, young women who have been put in very responsible, highly responsible positions at the heads of various public institutions, unquestionably very well qualified to do what you have to do, and with the passion and the energy and the zeal to do the work. But you're a rather unconventional figure, are you not? I mean, you're beautifully presented, but you're somebody, as you say, you turn to art every day. You apparently have an interest in music that I'm hearing about for the first time. What is this interest in music?
I'm learning to play the saxophone.
You are learning to play the saxophone. I won't ask you what time you do the lessons and how you manage to fit that one in, or how many times a week you get to practice.
That's why I've had a saxophone for 16 years and I'm not playing it properly.
So you've had the instrument and your ambition is to learn how to play it. Okay. But do you regard yourself as a rather unconventional figure?
One day somebody said to me, when I was much, you keep saying that one of the young people, I feel so flattered. I'm not that young.
You present yourself as a very young person.
I try. Thank you. So somebody said to me when I was much younger, teenager, you are a bohemian. And I thought he had insulted me because I didn't understand the word bohemian. I said, you're a bohemian. And I didn't know whether to say thank you or smile or get angry or anything. So I just quietly went home and took my dictionary and then I checked out the meaning of bohemian. And I said, okay, I am. Yes. Not your normal, typical. Yes. So if you say so.
You feel comfortable with being an unconventional person in terms of the way many Ghanaian women, or if you like, the average Ghanaian woman would present themselves.
It's just me. I don't know. I don't make an effort to be that. That's what I am.
It's the way you feel happy, just being you.
Just being me.
And that kind of focus and centeredness indeed has taken you to a position of some prominence in our public life, with the potential that we can all see with the work that you do at GEPA. I wanted to ask you just briefly, what kind of GEPA did you find when you took over in 2018, and where do you think you have taken the authority? I know it's
the GEPA that needed a little bit of help. Yes, we needed help, and but I had a good team, and with the support of the team, GEPA now is seen as GEPA. People didn't even know about GEPA. Now I can say that we are out there. People understand what we are doing, and we are fulfilling our mandate. And that is because of the team and the re-engineering of the team and what we're supposed to be doing, understanding our mandate and following that path. And with the support of the management and the board, I had a very good board that really supported what we were trying to, and how we were trying to position GEPA. And that's how come Now, you talk about GEPA and people are not equating it to other organizations. There were times when you mention GEPA and they say, oh, you mean this organization or that organization. Now, when you talk about GEPA, it's about GEPA. Somebody said, you guys are too loud for an organization that was established about 3 years ago. And I said, no, GEPA is 50 years old.
Indeed, it was established in 1917.
Exactly,
Was it
1969.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've been around for a long, long time, and so many people didn't even understand our mandate or what we were supposed to be doing. And we haven't gotten there yet, but we are trying our best. Yeah.
Where would you eventually like to take GEPA to?
When everybody understands the work of GEPA, and those who are supposed to support and support us because they understand what export means to the country, then I'll know that our work is done. I want everybody to understand what exports means to a country, the economy of a country, and their part that they are supposed to play in that is being done. They are playing their part very well. Then I know that our work is done. Until then, we are still fighting.
Well, we wish you every success with that endeavour, and we are sure we will be hearing a great deal more of you and the work of GEPA as the economy revives, and we hope COVID gradually recedes. But good luck specifically with your art exhibition coming up in August, and we hope we will hear more about the WTPO conference as well and be involved in that. So,
thank you, GHANAIAN.
Our great thanks to Dr. Afua Asabea Asare, the Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, for joining us on Sunday night. Our production team for Sunday night has been Philip Alate, Joda Addo, and Dennis Asante. Our producer has been Abidi Anim, and I've been your host, GHANAIAN MENSAH. Thank you very much for joining us on Sunday night. Join us again next week, same time, 7 o'clock Sunday night.